Hello, let me do a check-in with the first 14 chapters of The Code Breaker, Jennifer Doudna, Gene Editing and the Future of the Human Race by Walter Isaacson. This was published this year in no, not this year, last year in 2021. And let me just read you the description here of Jennifer Doudna, who, driven by passion to understand how the nature works and to turn discoveries into invention, she would help to make what the book's author, uh, this is because she'd read the double helix, James Watson, told her was the most important biological advance since his discovery of the structure of DNA. She and her collaborators turned a curiosity of nature into an invention that will transform the human race, an easy-to-use tool that can edit DNA. Known as CRISPR, it opened a brave new world of medical miracles and moral questions. The development of CRISPR and the race to create vaccines for coronavirus will hasten our transition to the next great innovation revolution. The past half century has been a digital age based on the microchip, computer, and internet. Now we are entering a life science revolution. Children who study digital coding will be joined by those who study genetic code. Should we use our new evolution hacking powers to make us less susceptible to viruses? What a wonderful boon that would be. And what about preventing depression? Should we allow parents, if they can afford it, to enhance the height or muscles or IQ of their kids? After helping discover CRISPR, Doudna became a leader in wrestling with these moral issues and, with her collaborator Emmanuel Carpentier, won the Nobel Prize in 2020. So I have been listening to the first 15 chapters of this book. It is not a biography as such, straight biography as such of Jennifer Doudna. It is more using her, like other nonfiction writers that I've seen, thinking of the Library Book, and the Gene and the Orchid Thief by Susan Orlean, as an example, where the nonfiction writer chooses a central figure and then organizes uses that to organize a wide field of study, and this being gene editing, and I guess we're going to get into the future of the human race, basically the discoveries of gene editing. That's probably best illustrated by this little blurb that it mentions James Watson, who Watson and Crick discovered, with help from others, the underlying structure of DNA, the double helix. Do not quote me on any science when it comes to this book, because I'm sure Walter Isaacson is trying to kind of take you through it all. I'm sure if 1% of this actually sticks in my head, it'll be a miracle. And yeah, looking at Goodreads here, there seems to be a common refrain of a lot of other readers of, why do we have all this detail about science? I put the book down and I completely forgot it all. So why did you put it in there in the first place? I guess I'll have to make my decision on that, whether it's a good it's something that's laudable about this book or not. Whether they could have edited out that. But yeah, it starts. So while it uses Doudna as an organizing principle, and she's not a small worker in this. She is somebody who definitely seemed to took this natural phenomenon of CRISPR, in RNA, to how it naturally uses it to edit genes to immunize itself. It used this natural technique to turn it into a tool so that humans could edit their own genes. And as we go along here, I believe it's a part of what It is a part of it's a part of the technology that was used to create the the mRNA vaccines that we have now. That's I can tell it's interesting. We're getting like the personalities of the scientists. We're getting uh, how how science is done. It's not one person sitting down and going, I have an idea. It's multiple people bouncing off each other, some going down the wrong paths, or everyone's hurting over here. And Dudna decided at when everyone else was interested in the Human Genome Project and mapping out the gene, that's when Dudna and a few others, decided to turn to RNA and try and explore that. Um, there is also the idea that that like like a sports figure or something like that. Dudna is slowly at this point in the book is transitioning from someone who is like very much a kind of sitting down at the bench and with a pipettes and doing hands-on experiments to learning how to set up a team and becoming a coach, a mentor, and organizing that, and that teams are what teams of people are going to be what is going to put forward stuff. And she comes in there and says, have you ever thought of doing this? And pushing people to, ask the big questions, the big questions about stuff. So there's very much ambition involved in this. And this is an American, Walter Isaacson, who is looking at an American scientist and trumpeting some of uh, the the culture of American science. In that, I've looking at some of the reviews down below, which may or may not be informed. It is very much on the focus on the American side of things versus, I think, the Chinese are also involved. That's going to be one of the main rivals. A bitter rival, I think, was what came up in that. So that's I think that's about where I'm at. I can tell that with this book, I'm going to try and do some supplementary supplementary reading, supplementary viewing. I've already looked at videos trying explaining CRISPR, which I think I will try and do more of, just to try and get the science in my head, because I find Isaacson, while he's probably doing a stellar job, I'm listening to it as an audiobook, but also even if I was reading this, it would probably glaze over, and having visuals of, this is what CRISPR is doing is will be useful to me, so I can get a baby's crayon uh, picture what's going on, and how that's working. Uh, I know that just in gene stuff in general, there was a brief mention of Genentech, which she had a failed. She was getting dissatisfied with herself. Her Jennifer Doudna was getting dissatisfied with herself, like having a bit of a midlife crisis, and she tried going over to this big biotech company, Genentech, which was founded in like 1976. And one of their big innovations, one of probably many, was what turned out to be Humulin, genetically engineered genetically engineered insulin, which is something that up until a little while ago was what you know Ja was using. So these are very real world things. It used to be insulin came from pigs. Now that's not no longer the thing, and it's actually a more effective. Humulin and the other things that have come past that are much more effective at matching to human bodies. It's like it's stuff. There was much more insulin resistance from bodies going like, this isn't quite what I want. This is again my completely ignorant, simplistic look at it, but it's one of these things of, you look at scientific discoveries and, oh, holy crap, some little abstract thing over here has a very direct impact on not directly on my life, but directly on the person that I love and, want to be around for a long time, and is quite possibly is helped greatly with her health. So, and this is the whole thing about CRISPR. I think we'll get into how it came into play with making the vaccines for COVID-19, which, I think there's an emphasis here of, this wasn't like, wow, this is suspicious that they were able to come up with this so quickly. It's like, no, they've been working on this. They've been working on stuff like this for, decades before, and it was only due to fucking probably dumb luck that we happened to come up with tools to be able to work to directly address this so quickly at so quickly at the time. We're very lucky species that way. We're all very lucky that we have the scientists here. So there's the really positive things. There also, Isaacson is mentioning the whole idea of, like, yes, we're going to be able to edit genes a lot easier. And is this going to be one of these things of that the people who can afford it will edit their genes to make a actual biological step up for the rich against people who can't afford gene editing stuff? So there's that. There's just the whole thing of, altering the human race. Is that something that should be done? And I mean, this all comes down to kind of questions of what is natural. I mean, is what natural is that we shouldn't be having, we shouldn't, is penicillin unnatural? Is our glasses unnatural? Is making a fire unnatural? Our use of tools in general, is this just another tool, and will will it be just horribly messy at the beginning and then we'll settle down? Or is it, is how dangerous of a tool is this? So people get freaked out by things that are new at the very beginning, sometimes comically so. Things of technology, of the depravity of the telephone, or the depravity of cars, which, I mean, you could say cars are horrible ecological blight on our planet. Not only the consumption of gas, of all the gas, of gasoline, oil, and all the roads. I'm getting off on a tangent. Anyways, so it's a big topic where Isaacson is definitely using Dudna as sort of an organizing principle around, a central figure for us to kind of latch onto, us poor newbies to latch onto, as he tries to introduce swaths of information, swaths of a gigantic cast of characters. He's decided that this is the person I'm going to make the central to it, and we'll see how that works. I'm enjoying it so far, so I haven't completely got snowed under. I do feel the need, like, I wonder if he's done like interviews. Isaacson's done interviews where you can kind of get a little bit more focus on his thesis, or his selling of it, and also to do little scientific explainers from people that I know are good at explaining science in more manageable chunks, to try and bolster up my weak scientific understanding. All right, I will leave it there for the moment. More videos later.